Yeah, opinions. Everyone has one, and they can definitely change over time. I'm definitely one of those people. I used to hold certain views, which I will explain in this video, that I thought at least were somewhat rational, maybe. But, yeah, over time, really makes me think, why the fuck did I think that? Yeah, today we're gonna have a discussion video. 7 or 8 opinions that I used to hold, but now I just find pretty either fallacious or really bad personally, and made me think, why the fuck did I think these? Yeah, let's get on with this video. Yeah, let me try to explain my how I thought about this back then. Usually, whenever used to watch top 10 videos, I still kind of do now, but not to the extent that I used to. There are times in videos where, let's say, we weren't even at number 1, and they said, "This is my personal favorite game in the series," and then later in the video, they actually get to the number 1 spot, and they're like, "This is the best in the series," and I was like, hold up. Right here you said it was your favorite, and then over here you said it's your best. Well, which one do you actually like the most? Which one is the best one to you? And, yeah, nowadays, I stopped thinking that because there are plenty of instances where I think one I personally like more than the other, but one of them I think is better than the other. I'd say a personal example, at least in my opinion, would probably be SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom and the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. Yeah, let's go with those. Personally, I think the movie, I personally like playing it more because of the stuff like SpongeBob and Patrick, well, mainly how they play and also the upgrade system. But in my opinion, I think Battle for Bikini Bottom is not only better, way better designed in my opinion, or at least I think it's a bit better, but it's also a bit more explorative, has multiple playable characters, which isn't really a determinant factor, but yeah, personally I think Battle for Bikini Bottom is technically the better one, but I personally like playing the movie more, or the movie game more, but yeah, I can perfectly distinct when someone says they like something and when they think something's their favorite. There is a difference between the two. Now, let's move on to the next one. Yeah, pretty divisive subject, but here's how my way of thinking was on this one. Yeah, like most people, I usually scroll through the comments section on YouTube videos, and let's say I were on a game review, let's say, and and someone's either trashing the game or ditch sucking the game, let's say. And then through the comments you see a bunch of people saying, well, this is what I saw. I saw a lot of people say either a game can be objectively good or objectively bad. And I used to think, oh, well, there's no arguing with this, and thought could be objective proof for a game being bad. Like, let's say Sonic 06, for example. Uh, the way I saw people, or the things I saw people say about it were, let's say, listen stuff like the glitches, it being unfinished, or the levels, or certain, well, again, glitches, or the controls, and then the story. Yeah, I used to think that there were no arguing to any of that, and yeah, I don't really think it was a very open-minded way of thinking, or even if I didn't even know if I thought those were my genuine thoughts or opinions, but yeah, I used to think games or art in general could be objectively good or bad. Now, here we are now. Think about it through my critical thinking goggles. I thought about something. What does objective really mean? So I looked it up and found that it was uh, basically a view without bias and, looking at it critically or in the technical aspect, you know. And it also made me think, how do we know these people who say that a game's objectively good or bad are actually unbiased or yeah, with the way objective the definition is, it sounds like they're saying, oh, well, if I think this thing is bad or good, then everyone has to go by it. But, yeah, personally, I think the term objective is insanely overused when referring to art. There are a lot of people who say, "Oh, but this thing's objectively good or bad." And nowadays, whenever I see someone say it, I'm thinking, so does that mean we all have to think this thing is good or bad? Otherwise, we're quote biased and fuck. I've even heard people look at a top 10 list or a tier list and say, this is a very biased list. And whenever I see someone say that now, I'm like, no shit, it's biased. It's their opinion. But, yeah, personally, I think the I guess reception, or not reception, or yeah, maybe reception, but your opinion on a game is completely subjective, and how you personally think about the game. There's nothing objective about it because it's your view on the game. It's not everyone's view on the game. And again, objective means referring to facts, or it's something like that. But yeah, I don't really think a game could really be objectively good or bad. But yeah, what do you guys think of this in the comments? Feel free to tell your opinions on it. But yeah, let's move on to the third opinion. Oh boy, here's how I thought about this subject. So, yeah, I used to watch, or I actually do still watch quite a bit, but back then I watched music reviewers. And whenever I saw the song they were reviewing, they commonly, or most people commonly cite the lyrics in the song. It seems like above everything else. And I've seen a lot of people in the music industry, or maybe the music industry, but a lot of music fans say, oh, the lyrics are trash, this song sucks, or some shit like that. Or basically looking at or listening to what the words are coming out of the people's mouth and what they're saying. And then I saw that, and I've seen even some people, or quite a bit of people I watch quite frequently, cite the lyrics or the songwriting as, the basically one of the determinant factors, or maybe even the most determinant factor on if a song is good. And yeah, I used to hold that view too. I basically thought, if you're singing a load of horse shit lyrically, then it doesn't matter how your song sounds. You're garbage, or some shit like that. Now, oh boy, I disagree with that a lot now. Here, I'm going to use an example. Let's say I decided to make a song. The entire beat was made of me fucking the mic. I'm fucking moaning really loudly in a really nasally delivery, and the instrumental is a dude farting, and it's all recorded inside of a closet, and it's recorded off of an iPhone 2. And also the video is shot with a 1996 VHS camera. But under all that stuff is good songwriting and legitimately good lyrics. Now, would you really want to listen to that? Listen to basically what's an assault on your ears, and then finding legitimately good songwriting? Like, personally, would you really want to look for what I'm saying when you have to go through what's basically an assault on your ears? In my opinion, fuck no. Yeah, personally, I think there's more to a song being good than just the songwriting. Like, how's the song mixed? How does it sound? What about the tempo of the song? Or, yeah, if the person actually sounds enthused, let's say, like their delivery. Or, who knows, maybe even the voice. But, yeah, nowadays I think there's more to a song than just the lyrics. But, yeah. Let's move on to the next thing. Yeah. Let me explain this one. Now, back then, well, not just back then, but I see a lot of people now, they say they have a lot of nostalgia for the game. And, yeah, I'll tell you what I think about that in a bit, but here, let me give you the context. Now, whenever I saw someone say that they have a lot of nostalgia for the game and say they love the game, there were some people that I see flooding in the replies to the comment, or replying to the comment saying something like, "Oh, that's not a good reason to like something. You're blinded by it," or some shit. And yeah, I used to hold that too, that if you grew up with the game, then that's not a good reason for thinking a game is good, or enjoying something. It has to be, quote, how it is objectively. And yeah, I spoke on that earlier, but yeah, there's one reason why I drastically disagree with it now. It is a very judgmental way of thinking. Yeah, you may not think nostalgia is a good reason for liking a game, or you might not personally think nostalgia should be a determinant factor for enjoying a game, but if someone thinks it is, let them think it. Yeah, other people have different opinions than you. Shocker. That doesn't mean you have to freaking go down their throat and say, just because you grew up with something doesn't mean you're allowed to enjoy it. But, yeah, this one is definitely shorter than a lot of the other ones. But, yeah, let people enjoy games for nostalgia. And, yeah, basically don't be judgmental about it. But, yeah, let's move on to the next one. Well, here's basically a double one. And let's just say it involves criticism in some way. But, yeah, let's talk about the first one. So, yeah. Now, this one isn't nearly as common as the other ones, but from certain people, and certain people that I enjoy, for that matter, I've heard say, you have to be good at something to critique other people for that thing. Like, let's say if you're a rapper, and, you're critiquing other people's rapping and saying, "Oh, there are certain things that I think you do pretty poorly, but there's some room for improvement," or something like that. And then, let's just say someone pretty huge in the rap game, or someone pretty influential, says, "Oh, but, yeah, you're not very good at it either, so, improve yours, then you can critique them." Now, yeah, but, yeah, I'll sum these two up in a minute, but, yeah, let's talk about the next one first, or the next one second. Now, there are some times where I've seen that, let's say a fan, or let's just say a random person goes up to a songwriter, or, well, let's just say it's a random person bringing it up. Let's just say that they tell them directly, "Hey, I don't like what you're doing," or, "Hey, you could do better at this thing." Yeah. There are some responses that go in the lines of, like, "Oh, well, you're not doing it either, so who are you to judge," or some shit. Like, "Oh, you're not doing the exact same thing." Now, yeah, surprisingly, I used to hold these views. Yeah, I thought, you critique this game reviewer? Well, you don't review games yourself, so who are you to judge? Review a couple games, then you can critique them. Or, "Oh, you're not good at that exact same thing, so who are you to critique other people? Be good at this thing, then you can critique." Now, yeah, this is one of the most... This is one of the things that I nowadays fucking despise. And let me explain. Now, one of the reasons why I think these are both really flawed is, it really goes to show, at least in my opinion, you really can't handle criticism. Yeah, I think I think if you do some shit like that, it really shows that, well, first, let me, I guess, respond to some of the people that might say they're proving a point. Now, from the looks of it, who knows? Maybe it looks like they are proving a point. They're saying that, "Hey, you aren't in my shoes, so you should experience it in order to, I guess, judge it," or let's say something like that. Now, first, let me explain this one. Okay, this is kind of jumbled, but yeah, let's talk about the one saying that you should be good. Here's the thing. Back then when I said you can't really be objective towards something's quality, well, Basically, that same thing applies here. You may not think they're good, but that doesn't just completely revoke their right to have an opinion on something. Yeah, you're basically, in my opinion, it kind of comes off as, I guess you could say it does kind of come off as gatekeeping, or yeah, it is pretty much gatekeeping, but yeah, for the second one, yeah, that's really just showing that you really can't handle criticism. And here's why it comes off as not being able to handle criticism, at least in my opinion. Usually, people only say that shit when someone's giving a criticism to them. If it's, let's say, the exact opposite, and it's someone saying, yo, I really like this, then the person might respond with a quick, oh, thanks, I love you. Hey, thank you. Yeah, basically, they don't have to be a rapper to like something, or they don't have to be something doing that thing to enjoy if they're liking you, but if they don't like you, then yeah, they have to be one. Now, let me tell you a bit of a story. Back in when I was a freshman in high school, we had we had these things called pep rallies, and I think on like the first or second pep rally we had, the principal was talking about, I think, like band or something, and then yeah, basically it's talking about like concerts and the audience and stuff. What point the teacher tried to make, or the principal tried to make, was basically mocking an audience member who said, oh, they could do better, you know, saying that, hey, maybe this thing wasn't so good, but hey, there's a lot of room for improvement, so there's that. Guess how the principal took that? The point they tried making was, oh, well, you're not a band member, and basically saying, you should apply for band, then you can critique others. Now, yeah, basically this principal just really can't handle criticism of their band students, which, yeah, I think I've talked quite a bit on why I think it's a pretty fallacious thing, but yeah, let's move on to the next one. So, yeah, if I held this view today, then I wouldn't be making this video, but, yeah, let me try to explain this one. So, yeah, as you guys know, I make quite a bit of commentaries, and a lot of people, surprisingly, have seen my response to ValeStubum94's video on Modern SpongeBob saying it's complete garbage. Now, for some reason, yeah, keep in mind, for some reason, I tried making the point that it was, I guess, a bandwagoning or something, saying or trying to claim it's a contradiction, where at one point, during that time, Vale said that he thought Modern SpongeBob was complete garbage. Then, eventually made a video saying that he thought it was getting better. Now, how exactly I thought that was a contradiction, I don't know. And the reason why I think that's a really bad argument is, for one thing, you're allowed to change your opinions. Yeah, for that one simple reason, I don't really stand by it anymore, because back then I thought, oh, well, if you say this thing is good then say this thing is bad now, then you're contradicting yourself. When you're 100% not. You're allowed to change your opinions, but, yeah. Let's move on to the next one. Well, diving into another pretty bad argument, in my opinion. Yeah. Now, referring back to one of my commentaries again, in my first ever commentary responding to a Nathaniel Bandy's How Sonic Adventure 2 trilogy video, at one point, when he was talking about the Tails driving segment in Sonic Adventure 2, I tried saying, oh, well, Tails' plane is able to form into a car, and he's a mechanic, so yeah, it may not be good, but hey, at least it made sense. Or I tried pulling the whole, if it made sense, then it can't be bad thing. Now, this one I commonly see used by quite a bit of people. Here, let me give you an example. I don't know if many of my audience has listened to Eminem before, but there's a lyric that he has in his song, Love the Way You Lie. He says, now you get to see her leave out the window. Guess that's why they call it window pane. Now, personally, I think that's a really corny line, and I think it's pretty shitty. Now, a lot of people have tried arguing that it's a genius line because, oh, it made sense, and it's a play on words. They basically explaining how the line works, and then saying, oh, that line wasn't bad, you just don't get it. Now, oh boy, they're basically saying that, oh, if the line made sense, then it can't be bad. Kind of like how I was arguing. And basically saying that if something's like a play on words or something, then it's just incapable of being criticized or being thought of as bad. Which, yeah, I think is a pretty bad argument. Now, let's move on to the next one. Oh boy. I intentionally put this one as last because I think it's one of the worst views that I used to hold. But, oh boy, let me try to explain my line of thinking for this one back then. So, yeah, basically when I was younger, I guess you could say I was a bit, well, really sensitive. Yeah, I was a pretty sensitive little boy back then. And, yeah, as you can tell, in the world of comedy, there are a lot of what people would deem offensive jokes. And, yeah, some of these I found pretty offensive. And whenever I heard someone say a joke like, let's say, how many cops does it take to screw a light bulb? None, they would just beat the room for being black. If someone told me that joke back then, I personally would have said, oh, that's offensive to black people. You shouldn't be allowed to make that. You're not allowed to make that, or some shit. But now, as a 6'4", 15-year-old, I could definitely say that is some joke policing shit. Yeah, and I see a lot of people use the whole argument that, oh, these jokes contribute to stigma or some shit. And, yeah, fuck, I actually got into an argument with a guy on Reddit, and he tried, linking some articles stating that, oh, jokes contribute to stigma. And saying that, oh, joke about certain things is not a laughing matter or some shit. When, here's the thing. One, that is incredibly joke policey, and, yeah, I'll have none of that. That's fucking bullshit. And two, that's pretty anti-First Amendment, in my opinion, which the First Amendment is the ability of freedom of speech. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it might be offensive and you may not like it, but that doesn't mean that the person's not allowed to say it. Yeah, freedom of speech does not mean freedom from criticism. Yeah, but that doesn't mean they're not allowed to do it. But, again, and another thing is, jokes or comedy has its root in some pretty dark stuff. Yeah, and another thing I didn't get was when I hold that view, I at the same time, well, watch South Park. Which, if you guys haven't seen South Park, which I'm pretty sure most of the people in my audience have seen it, South Park has a lot of fucking dark jokes, so, yeah, I don't know why when I fucking joke police other people for, quote, making offensive jokes when I watch the show, where a lot of the time, they made offensive jokes. But, yeah, personally, whenever I see someone get offended by a joke and say it hurts their feelings, then I'm gonna have to say, dude, grow some thicker skin, or something like that. But, yeah, that was my, very long discussion video on opinions that I used to have, but no longer have. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed me rambling for quite a long time, and see you guys in the next video.